Now, so far we've been talking about some cases. I think they're important cases, but some people might think, they're a little bit made up, a little bit contrived. But here's kind of a serious example that comes up. It's the involuntary organ transplant case. Imagine a healthy elderly guy, figure a guy in his 60s, in the hospital for some tests. He's basically healthy. These are really just, standard kind of maybe a colonoscopy, has to go under for it, very nervous about it. And while he's sedated, after doing the blood test and everything, the staff discovers that he's a perfect organ donor for five patients, who are in the hospital, who will die if they do not get much needed organ transplant. Now, the patients in the hospital, they're young people in their teens. They were just in a car accident, just pulled out by the emergency medical services in the city. One of them needs a heart. Two of them need lungs. One needs a left, one needs a right. Two of them need kidneys. Their kidneys were both of these patients, both of their kidneys are gone. So they're going to die if they don't get these transplants. And the patient is, not the person who's in the hospital for the tests is a perfect organ donor. Now, look at the way it works. If they remove the healthy man's organs, the man's going to die, right? You pull out the guy's lungs, he's not living. You pull out his heart, he's not living. Kidneys, it would take a little bit longer. Maybe they could keep him alive on dialysis. Maybe that's a possibility. But the young patients will live long lives as a result of the transplant. And remember, this is a thought experiment, so we can imagine whatever we want. Imagine the doctors know all of this. They have perfect knowledge of this. Now, the question that I want you to give some thought to is, what ought the doctors to do? What ought the doctors do? So think about it for a second, then turn it on. Turn the recording back on. Think about it. Okay, now that you've given it some thought, what should they do? Well, let's think. What are the options? You could take one of the organs out. You could transplant. You could take one lung out, one kidney out. But if you remove all of the healthy man's organs, he's going to die. So what's the right thing to do? Should you just transplant a few? Should you do what? And I think when you think about it, ordinarily people think, well, they shouldn't be removing this person's organs unless they have volunteered, they have agreed to donate these organs. However, there's been no agreement in this case. What should you do? Now the question to ask is, according to utilitarianism, what ought to be done? What should the doctor do? And let's think of the alternative, Well, one thing you could do is wait till a guy wakes up, ask the potential donor if he would be willing to donate one or two of his organs or all of his organs. Maybe, I guess that's a little bit going too far. Another thing you could do, time may be of the essence, so maybe you could take out one or two of the elderly man's organs, donate one or two of them to the patient, saving their lives. And the third one is take out all the organs, giving them to the younger patients, and giving them a chance to live. Unfortunately, the elderly man is going to die in the process. So, according to utilitarianism, what is the right thing to do in this case? Well, if we look at it, the thing that has the highest utility, the elderly man, maybe he's in mid-60s, in good condition. Maybe he has another 20 years left, who knows, but he's lived a long life. The young patients without these transplants are going to die. Say they're in their late teens, early 20s, they've been in this very bad car wreck. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Let's say the doctor knows that they're going to go on, they're going to live for another 60 years, 40, 50, 60 years, have children, create a lot of pleasure, have good lives, have a chance at that. It looks like the best thing to do is probably C. That probably has the highest utility. That is, what's the best thing according to utilitarianism? Remember, the act's right if and only if the action has the highest utility of the alternatives. And 2 seems to be even a better candidate. Not the best. The best is C, because that's the one that's going to have the highest utility. Unfortunately, the elderly patient's going to die, family's going to be upset. The associated thing. But in the other case, the other families are going to be upset. These young people who had their lives, to look forward to ahead of them, will no longer live. So it looks like C has the highest utility, B the next highest utility. So it looks like Act Utilitarianism implies that C is the best, B is the second best. But this just doesn't seem right, correct? We shouldn't be taking the person's organs out unless the person's agreed to it. But Act Utilitarianism has no way to account for this. It's too demanding. If the outcome says that that's the right thing to do, that's the right thing to do. There are no questions to be asked about it. So here, it looks like utilitarianism, with regard to this involuntary organ transplant, utilitarianism is really way too demanding. That is, the doctor should just rip the guy's organs out. I mean, that just isn't right. So it seems something is not, or at least the consequences of Act Utilitarianism. What you have to do according to Act Utilitarianism just seems like it's demanding too much of morality.